But let me tell you, we got a good one tonight, fellas. We got a good one tonight. You got a team in here that doesn't respect you, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because sometimes in life, you have to make people earn your respect. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta have people that say, you know what, damn, I underestimated him. I didn't think he was gonna get that job done to get the promotion. I didn't think they were gonna win that game. So tonight you gotta earn some respect. That's what you need to do, my friends. That's what you gotta do.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, Manga chapter 571. And yeah, that just happened. And you know what they say, man, right? Like, seeing is believing, right? And even though I saw it, I still can't believe what I read today. In what world, universe, galaxy, dimension is it possible for Heki to be able to get this kill? And I know some of you guys just think I'm a Heki hater, but no, even Heki himself didn't believe. When Katara was sitting there listing off all the reasons why Heki was such a sucky general, even Heki was thinking, yeah, exactly, this is why I shouldn't go. And y'all can say I hate on Heki all you want. Like, what have I ever done to hate on Heki?
I really would love for this man to go back from a general to like a 5,000 man commander.
Besides that,
and you know, I have me a little Heki sweat index.
Okay, that was ancient history.
I'm the trash man, trash man, trash man. I'm the trash man, trash man, trash man.
Please, 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 Har, don't do this to me. Alright, so this chapter starts out with the Yotanwa army trying to make a break for it and escape the forest after rescuing Yotanwa and Bajio. And even though we already know that Yotanwa was being carried out, I like how Hara didn't skip the details, and he showed us that Bajio was actually also being carried out, and he was actually tied to another member of the mountain tribe, pretty much to keep him from falling off the horse as they escaped the forest. And the reason they needed to get out of the forest is because Shunmin wanted to see how the battle was going between the Figo King and Rozo's armies. And when they come out, you just see a mass of soldiers to their left. And as all the fighting is going on, you see that the Figo King's army is pretty much going blow to blow with Rozo's army. But Shunmin brings up the point that Rozo's army is built up of crack troops in peak condition, and over time the Figo army will lose its edge. And he also brings up the fact that because their numbers are so small, it wouldn't be wise for them to go and help. Their best course of action right now is to get Yotanwa to safety. But just as they're about to make their move, Yotanwa and her men spot at the top of the cliffs Bunen and his army. And it appears that Bunen is finally ready to join the fray after crossing the battlefield. And as he's receiving intel that the men he sees down there fighting are indeed Rozo's army, and that the small group to the outside of the forest is actually Yotanwa and a bit of her men, one of Bunen's men comes up with the plan that he'll take a force to go and capture Yotanwa while Bunen himself goes to help Rozo. Because they do notice that the Figo King's men are actually giving Rozo's men a run for their money, but they know that once they jump into the mix, it won't matter at all. But Bunen surprisingly says no, that he will take Yotanwa for himself. And as some of his men are looking confused, he tells them that they can go ahead and help the king, and as he calls 200 riders on him, he proceeds down the cliff to go after Yotanwa. Then we find ourselves with two of Bunen's soldiers wondering, what does Bunen actually mean by take Yotanwa? And what they really hope is that he doesn't intend to jump in front of King Rozo. So hearing all this, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that Bunen's after the Nethers too. And the way he's thinking is he better get to it before Rozo, because Rozo with his skin fetish and flaying people, it probably wouldn't be a good look for Bunen to show up second. But the troops are worried because they know that if Bunen does this, then all of their heads are gonna roll. And I really can't help but to feel sorry for the Kwangrang troops. It's like no matter what they do, they're always in a losing situation. And as Bunen and his men are charging at Yotanwa, Yotanwa's men begin to get information to stop this charge, while at the same time having another detachment escape with Yotanwa. But Yotanwa tells her men to wait because all of a sudden there's a big commotion behind Bunen. And we see that the Kitari and Heki'S armies have now arrived at the battlefield, and we see that they're nearly exhausted from catching up. But what they see in front of them completely catches them by surprise. They really don't understand why there's this big battle going on down below. And this is where Kitari actually seems to show a little bit of her abilities as a leader, because she's quickly able to process all the information that's going on the battlefield. Seeing that Rozo, the Figo King, Yotanwa, Bunen are all in one place, she's starting to realize what Yotanwa was aiming for. Grabbing Heki'S, letting him know that the pivotal moment of this battle has come earlier than expected, but it is actually now that the fate of Ryoyu will be decided. And while Heki'S thinks that means that it must be time to go and save Yotanwa, Kitari tells him that he is wrong. She says that she'll be the one to go save Yotanwa, while at the same time avenging Kitari's death and slaying Bunen. But the task she entrusts Heki'S with is to go and take Rozo's head. And if you're anything like me, reading the fact that Heki'S supposed to take Rozo's head probably caused you to do a double take. It's like these words don't belong in the same sentence together. Like, this caught me completely off guard. This was the last thing I expected to happen. And the funny thing is, Heki'S can't believe what Kitari's saying either. He's just like, "You what?" Then we get this panel of Rozo looking monstrous, slicing clean through like 4 of the Figo tribe's men. Even Punin the Chancellor has to acknowledge how much of a monster Rozo is. But Kitari goes on to tell Heki'S that this is what Yotanwa's been aiming for the whole time, and that this is a tactic that she knows that Yotanwa has used before, when she puts herself in danger as pretty much being the bait, while believing in her comrades to come through for her, saying that she's gambled it all to create this opportunity for them. And then we get to one of my favorite parts of the chapter, because Kitari just starts dropping all types of facts, man. Telling Heki'S that he's a pitiful excuse for a man, that he's lackluster in a fight, and that he got his food burned. But she says that if he's able to take the enemy commander Rozo's head, then that will make up for all his failures, and that now is his chance to show Yotanwa and the rest of the mountain tribe whether he's a real man or if he's a coward. And this speech was just beautiful to me. Kitari could have taken home the Emmy for Best Supporting Actress with these perfectly placed 100% factual words. The only problem is that Heki'S didn't really get the full effect, because Punin was translating, but he was like giving like the abbreviated version. So much was just lost in translation.
Sagara, it sounds as if our visitor harbors some hostility towards you. He's holding a substantial grudge for what you did to his friends yesterday and says he wants to exact his revenge upon you.
I see. Then please convey this to him, if you would. My military might exceeds yours by an overwhelming margin, so attempts at revenge would be a mere waste of efforts.
Now listen, you punk, there's no way you'd beat me. So step off, 'cause you ain't even got 1 chance in a billion, you loser biatch.
Your language skills are outstanding, Your Excellency.
And then we see Heki'S gathering his resolve and then telling his men that they go to take the head of the enemy commander, King Rozo. And likewise, we see Kitari tell the Mare tribe that they go after Bunen. But it's here, as the two groups are going their separate ways, that Kitari calls back to Heki'S to wish him good luck. But the way she looks at Heki'S almost suggests that there's a bit more to this than just good luck. And Heki'S, surprised, wishes Kitari good luck as well, as him and his men continue to charge down the cliffs. And as they're on their way to the battlefield, the Figo King again shows why he's one of the best characters in the mountain tribe, as he notices that the Mare tribe isn't coming to help them out, but that it's actually that unreliable looking Quinn general that's coming to aid them. And of course he's not going to complain about it too much, because crying about the situation isn't going to fix it. But in the midst of all the fighting and commotion, the Figo King notes that whether it's her allies or foes, that everyone all along has been dancing to Yotanwa's tune. And this of course catches the attention of Sensuiju's ears. But one of the Kwanran troops calls Rozo an idiot, pretty much for saying that it's his king that has fallen into their traps time and time again. And Rozo agrees that yes, they have been chasing her, but in the process they've chased them way out here, far away from their city. And it's at this point that Sensuiju realizes that the city is in danger, and Sensuiju immediately begins to head for his Zao troops in the rear, looking as if he intends to make it back to the city in time before Yotanwa's men can conquer it. Seeing this, one of Danto's men asks him does he think that it's okay for them to let Sensuiju get away. But Danto says that it really doesn't matter, because if the detachment wasn't able to take over Ryoyu before Sensuiju's army arrived, then the detachment probably wasn't strong enough to take the city anyway. But that isn't even a concern for the present moment, because at the moment we see body parts just flying in front of Danto, and his men are letting him know that King Rozo has arrived. And Danto takes this opportunity to tell the king that he's been fooled on two different levels. That one half of Yotanwa's plan was to take his city, but the other half was to lure him out and expose him to danger. And then we finally get the epic panel at the end with Rozo and the Figo King finally about to clash. And Danto saying that in the Lord of Death's stead, I, king of the mighty Figo tribe, shall slay you and usher in the end to Ryoyu's final night. And that was a chapter in an you know what? Before that, we actually do see a bit of Heki in the background, trying to get through, screaming out Kwanran King. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. Alright, so that was a great chapter of Kingdom, man. Like, I've been loving these last few chapters. And I think I'll save the Heki stuff for the end, but it's looking like our time on this battlefield is starting to draw to a close. We have all the major players in this battlefield currently on the battlefield, and I don't think we're gonna have to wait too much longer for the climax of it. And even though we've been saying it for quite some time now, guys, the Figo King actually came out and confirmed that everything was a part of Yotanwa's plans. Now, do I think that she expected her plans to unfold exactly the way they did during this battle? No, I do not. But her plans to me seem to be a little bit of organized chaos, where she kind of had a rough idea of what she was trying to accomplish, but the way in which it was going to be accomplished wasn't set in stone. For example, we already know the Impo stuff was set up ahead of time, so we already know that her using herself as bait and leading Rozo and his men away from the city was already a part of the plan. And if you look even deeper into it, you can actually see that Yotanwa was pretty much able to predict that Sensuiju would be able to predict her plan for the three brothers, which is really the reason that Sensuiju even came out with such a large force in the first place. And the funny thing is here, when the Figo King says that friend and foe were dancing to Yotanwa's tune, he's 100% correct, because she had all her troops thinking that the plan to take Ryoyu would last 3 days. And currently, we're technically still on day 1 of the plan. But the one thing that I think was outside of Yotanwa's predictions, and was the reason that the plans didn't go as smooth as she probably would have liked them to go, was the sheer number of soldiers that the Kwanran had at their disposal. And I actually think that made things a lot harder for them than Yotanwa was probably expecting. But the good part about it was, with all those numbers chasing after Yotanwa, that definitely made the city a much easier target to take. And of course we'll have to see what happens with that, because it looks like Sensuiju is on his way back to the city to try and see if he can stop it from being taken over. But it seems like from what Rozo was saying, it's probably too late for Sensuiju to really make a difference. And I'm sure when he gets there, he'll try to do a couple of things and maybe make a little bit of an impact. But I think ultimately the city should be taken. To be honest, I really just think that Hara wanted to get him off of this battlefield, because I actually think that Sensuiju is a strong character. And I kind of think that Hara just wanted to remove him from the battlefield to kind of even the odds a little bit more. But let's talk about the battle that's probably the easiest to predict, and that's the fight between Kitari and Bunen. And I'm actually kind of glad to see that it's just going to be her, and that she'll definitely be able to get revenge for her brother. And I actually originally thought it would be like a Heki-Kitari combination to get this kill, but it makes perfect sense for her to be doing this solo. But what doesn't make sense is the mission that Kitari sent Heki on, and that is to take the head of the Kwanran King himself, Rozo. And to be honest, guys, this is like uncharted territory for me. I don't know where Hara's going with this one, but I know he has a plan, and in Hara we trust. But before we can even throw Heki into the mix, we first got to deal with the fight that we already have about to start, which is the Figo King versus Rozo. Now I see a couple possibilities with this fight right here. Now there's the first possibility that this fight is just a complete wash and that the Figo King is just destroyed. And that's a possibility because that would actually show the strength of Rozo. And I feel like that's where a lot of people are leaning, but there's also the second possibility, and that's that Danto can actually hold his own against Rozo. And the reason I think this is possible is because one, the way he was able to deal with Torque, and two, that I actually think the way this fight is starting off, it kind of reminds me of like Mobu versus Kame, only this one would be like the Mountain Tribe edition. And the reason I say that is because even the way the fight starts off with the Figo King's men saying how much bigger Rozo is than Danto, those same lines were said by Mobu's men when the fight between Mobu and Kame was about to begin. Another thing we can't forget is how easily he was able to deal with Torque. Now I know it's not a major feat, but he was one of Rozo's top 3 guys, and at the very least it does show that the Figo King isn't a scrub. But I guess if Heki is going to somehow wind up in the mix and perhaps get this kill on Rozo, then if the Figo King does die, I would think that he would have to seriously injure Rozo for Heki to be able to even like stand a chance. Like maybe he cuts an arm off or something like that, and it's like Rozo versus Heki with like one arm. I don't know, he needs some sort of significant handicap for Heki to be able to stand a chance. I almost feel like Hara's kind of like trolling us, and before Heki can even get close enough to the fight, some other enemy will like interfere or something. Problem is I couldn't really even think of nobody, so I don't even know if that's a possibility. But anyway guys, let's move on to the comment of the week. And this week's comment comes from Kofi, and he says, I swear you're a low-key Heki fan. All I ask is one episode without his name. Now you see what you did? You only have yourself to blame for all the Heki talk we had this chapter. You jinxed us, bro. You jinxed us. And not only did you jinx us, it's so bad that I'm actually gonna have to hear Heki fans talking about Heki killing Rozo. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. But anyway guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter in the comment section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.